Fellow tennis nerds, I hope you're well. I have a distinguished guest with me today, Sean Hodkin. He is a professional tennis player with a couple of ATP points, playing right now, actually playing tournaments tomorrow. So I'm very thankful for him to actually take some time out of his busy day to talk to me. And he also has a YouTube channel, which I recommend you to check out. Sean Plays Tennis. There's some excellent coaching advice there, but also the vlogs from his tournaments and other things. So check out Sean Plays Tennis. I'll put the link in the description. I always start, how are you, Sean?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'd just like to say it's very, very good of you to, take the time to have me on the channel. Really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. I'm tired because I played 2 hours, 2:30 in the middle of day, and it's been like grinding on clay every day here, pretty
Mm,
much. And it's the humidity today was insane. Like when you're walking around and it's like splashing water out of your. This is disgusting, but I think most tennis players know how
I
that
know
is
the
when like
feeling.
there's water coming out of the shoe, right? It's
Mm,
disgusting.
yeah,
But it was fun. It was fun.
it's hot when you're just sweating walking around or walking to the court, and it's going to be a tough day.
Yeah. Yeah, conditions in tennis are so important. Like it's just like how you like your conditions to be. Some people like it cool and fast or indoors. Some people like it hot outside and fast outside or slow outside. What are your kind of preferred conditions? Usually, like when I talk to players from the UK, and you're from Scunthorpe, right? You prefer
Scunthorpe.
like fast courts, indoor, good volleys, good serve. That's the profile I have in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing at a David Lloyd, which has indoor carpet, and we
Oh
played
wow.
a lot of tennis on indoor carpet, Astro. So like early on in my kind of like career, I was really loving like anything indoor, anything fast, like especially when the balls used to be quicker as well. It was like, I was like taking the ball on all the time, and but then I started to like travel around quite a lot. I was playing like more futures, and you go away and it's like such a big shock. Like the courts are so much slower, and I actually started to prefer like slower courts because it gave me like more time. I could wind up, but I actually really like it when the conditions are quite heavy, when it's quite like humid or because I really feel like it gives me that time to just kind of wind up, make the rallies quite physical. Um, Again, if I'm playing very well, indoor hard is good, but if I'm like not returning very well, it gets very difficult in there. Whereas like an outdoor hard, when it's slower, you just have more time to kind of figure things out, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And it's also depending a little bit on how you feel, your body wise. Like if you
Mm,
if you have to finish points quickly. I mean, I was watching the Rafa documentary on Netflix, which I can recommend to anyone who hasn't watched it. It's always fascinating to go back in time and also to see like how much he struggled with different, physical conditions from the foot from 2005, and when Novak came and he had to adjust his whole game, try to play more aggressively to beat Novak, and first how to change his game up for that first Wimbledon title to beat Roger. So tennis is always like a sport of like adaptation, changing your mentality and everything, adjusting to conditions, constant adjustment. Do you feel like that's something you are pretty good at, like adjusting to heavier, slow, fast, whatever conditions?
I think it's for me. Like I know that for a lot of players, it's dependent on their game style and obviously what they've played on a lot. But for me, I always feel like it's easier to go to slower courts. If I've been playing on like a fast surface and I go to a slower court, it's easy. It's a lot easier. If I go from like a slow court to a fast court, I feel like it really takes me a long time to adjust. Like, my backswings are maybe a little bit bigger, or like I'm kind of not able to move up as quickly to take the ball on. Yeah, I really feel like kind of moving from the slower to a faster condition is harder for me. I also feel like moving to like a livelier surface is a lot more difficult because of my one hander. So like when guys are like kicking it up to my single hander and the ball's bouncing like above my head, I feel like that's like really difficult to adjust to. Whereas if it's like slower or the court's a bit more dead, I feel like it's a lot easier to kind of find my range like a lot quicker. Um, but yeah, there's been times when I've had to switch surface from playing on like an indoor carpet court that's like slippy, and then I've had to go and play on like a like a clay court or something within like the space of like 2 or 3 days, which is, I know, not great scheduling, but it does happen. Um, but yeah, those adjustments are very difficult.
Yeah, and you mentioned the one-handed backhand. You have a very good one. Would you say it's better than your forehand, like from your own personal judgment?
I think it's interesting. I'd say that it's probably a little bit more solid under the pressure. I can do more damage with my forehand when it's on, but I feel like my backhand is always like it's pretty much like always there. Like it doesn't feel like there's a day when it's kind of off, which is strange because when I was younger it was terrible. I could barely, like, all I used to do was slice. So out of I think out of people just targeting my backhand, it just got better. Like as a one-hander, you're used to people just pinning it onto your backhand like the whole time. So I think you just kind of get used to it. Um, you've got a one-hander.
Yeah,
Have
yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
the pains of one-handed. I've seen yours. You have a very like nice, clean, compact swing, and and you can take, so it looks like you're very used to taking the ball on the rise, which
Mm,
helps a lot, I think, on the one-handed backhand. If you need to wind up a lot, like some high-ranking ATP pros still have a pretty high wind up on the backhand. Obviously, you need that time, even if it's like they are so used to adjusting within a nanosecond. It's
mm.
still a little bit of extra time if you have to go down here and then under the ball, while you feel like you're a little bit shorter, ready for the fast bounce, take it on the rise, and more like a double-handed almost.
One tip that my coach when I was younger gave me, which was amazing, was just he always used to tell me to set at the height of the ball. So like instead of feeling like you have to take this like big swing and you have to fit all of this stuff in before you make contact with the ball, it's like he used to just say if the ball's bouncing up here, he was like just hold the racket there and play through the ball. And that made my like backswings very compact and very like repeatable. Whereas early on in my career, I was using this kind of like big backhand, take back, and I was really like on and off with it. I could make like some amazing shots, like 110 miles an hour, and then I'd make like 10 errors in a row. So it just really helped me to make my backhand like super solid. And I think that tip also helped the slice as well. So like when I was slicing the ball, my slice actually became a lot better because I was almost just setting like that and then playing through the ball instead of feeling like I had to, do all this kind of, big take back and really cut the ball. So I think I was very lucky when I was younger. I had very, very good coaching, on that side. I mean, I had very good coaching on everything really, my serve as well. I just feel like halfway through I kind of messed up my forehand a little bit, but then got it back. But yeah, I had very good coaching overall. So I was pretty lucky.
Yeah, that's so important to get some like really good advice. I mean, tennis technique is so complicated for everyone, and there's discussions in your head always, like even on the highest level of tennis, like, okay, should I try to shorten this? Should I do this? Should I play more aggressive? Slice versus especially one-hand backhand, like when you have a good slice, how much should you slice versus actually attacking the ball a bit more? A lot of
Mm.
guys, also high-level guys, get into slicing maybe too much or sometimes not enough. So it's a tricky one. But it looks like you have a really solid one that can withstand the pressure. I mean, my friend Adri, who is coaching now Safiulin, he said also that what helped him develop a one-handed backhand was just like having people hit to him all the time, because, well, like you said, that's what happens. You go travel around futures or whatever, people are gonna hit to your backhand. It's like on every
Mm.
level. That's
As soon as
how
they
life is.
as soon as soon as they see this, they just start kicking the ball into it. Recently a lot of guys have been like serve volleying to my backhand a lot, and
Kick
that's
serve,
kind of
or they're slicing it, what they do.
a bit of everything. Like people have been sliding it into my body, which I
Yeah.
actually don't mind too much. But I feel like now, especially at like the lower level, there's a lot more like variety in people's games. So like people are, I used to get away with just kind of camping at the back and hitting my one hander. People had hit high to it, but now it's like people kind of, slide a second serve into your body. They'll come forward and, if you chip, like once or twice, the next serve that they hit, they'll come forward on it most likely, especially if they're a decent player. But it's just interesting how as soon as they see like the one hander, I think now like people almost like just know, they know what to do, they know what to expect. Like so I've had to become a lot more kind of intelligent with the way I play, like mixing in the slice at the right time, even sometimes just accepting that if they hit a good ball onto my backhand side, that if I try and drive it, it's probably just going to go into the middle of the court anyway. So I just throw that short slice in, bring them forward, make them hit something very uncomfortable, and then just go for the pass. Or if they stay back, just nail it at them. But yeah, it is funny when you rock up to futures. I've seen it even with other guys, and you can see them playing with a one hander, and the guy's just kicking it into that side, and then shaping it up.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it's a pretty easy strategy to have in your head, like to identify. Okay, especially if you're a lefty, it's extra annoying. You're playing a lefty, and you're a righty one-hander, but it can also be a little bit too easy because people are like, okay, I'm just gonna play this backhand, but maybe the backhand is actually like a weapon, or actually not the right strategy. Maybe you should attack fast to the forehand or something, and then you just see that one-hander and like, this is how I'm gonna play, and then it's not. So it's interesting, the kind of mind games. When you travel around, do you see a lot of one-hander backhands like on the
I,
futures level?
I definitely see less than I used to. I kind of see a few, and there's that kind of like mutual respect when you're both out there just like grinding. The guys like obviously make a joke a bit, like keep it alive. But
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely see less nowadays. I see a few rocking around, but obviously if they're playing at the level of like 4, 5, 600 in the world, it's going to be a good shot anyway. You can't really have weaknesses these days. But yeah, there's a few British guys. There's a guy with a really good one-hander, Louis Maxted, who's around 400 in the world, I think, 300, and his is just like absolutely solid. Could do anything with it, hit good slice. But yeah, like I say, there's just not as many around,
No,
which
I,
is a shame.
it's a shame, but it becomes more of like the brotherhood of the one-handed backhands. Like it's kind of like a it's the Lord of the Rings, but it's you just got to keep it alive because it's still a good shot. Like, and I had this discussion with another guy saying like, okay, the one-handed backhand should come back considering the balls are so slow, and if you have to generate on a ball, like you can generate more with a one-handed backhand than from a dead
Mm,
ball than from a two-hander. Two-hander is tough to kind of whip up something with, but it's
mm,
great to block. Using the opponent's pace, obviously, with a two-hander is like the easiest thing in the book. At least it looks, if you don't have a two-hander, it looks so easy and effortless, but
mm.
it's obviously requiring a lot of footwork and technique as well. So that's interesting. When you travel on the futures, it's like, do you like the grind? Do you like traveling around? Is this a lifestyle that you enjoy? I mean, you're still a young guy, so the time is there. But it's something like the traveling part is usually where people feel a little bit, okay, I'm not at home as much as I should be. You have to stay in some so-so hotels or whatever. How do you feel about it?
I've never really minded it that much. I actually really enjoy it. I mean, I've never done it kind of, I would say properly. I've never stayed in like, really nice hotels, or I've done it very kind of infrequently. I've always done it like a grind. I mean, I remember one patch of tournaments that I played in London, and I was literally for nearly 2 months sleeping on a friend's floor, which was horrendous for my body.
Yeah,
My
it
friend was
is.
also, yeah, my friend was also a physio, so that kind of worked out pretty well. But if I had a proper bed, I wouldn't have needed him. But it was quite funny because like I was also working during that time, but and I went into the tournaments thinking, oh, I'm at such a disadvantage. Like I'm working, I'm like having terrible sleep, but it actually made me like fight harder, and it kind of made me kind of realize I have another gear to go into. Um, and there's something about when you're like on that grind and things are tough, it kind of brings out those skills in you, I think. And although it's not really comfortable at the time, I look back at those matches and look back at those times and I almost like really enjoy it, even though at the time it was really tough. And there's been a lot of times recently where I've stayed in kind of like 4 or 5 man Airbnbs, and it's like cramped, but you're all in the same boat. You all understand like what it takes, and you've all accepted it, and you're just having a good time. And it's like there might not be anything to do in the place that you're staying. It might be a small town, but you're all just having this banter together, and it kind of, I can imagine if you're doing it on your own all the time, it's going to be really tough. But there is this sort of like, you're in a group together, and it's like it's hard, but the rewards are there. But yeah, I don't really mind the traveling at all, to be honest. I actually enjoy it. Like no matter where I go, I just kind of, it's a new place, and it's a new challenge. Go out there and have a few weeks, and just see how it goes. To be honest, the biggest challenge is the money. That is the biggest challenge. Early in my career, I really struggled going away and only having like 50 quid in my bank. I'd spend money on flights and a hotel, and then I'd have like 50 quid for the rest of the week, or the whole time that I was there, and that was an uncomfortable feeling. Um, yeah, that was pretty tough.
Yeah, that's the toughest part, like because you feel like you're. I talked to Simon Konov like from the top tennis training, and he told me
Mm.
stories like sleeping in like a bus shelter or something, like some insane stuff when he was playing,
Yeah.
and you forget about all that sometimes, like because that tennis life and what the guys who are top 50, it's kind of a different tennis life, of course, but everybody has to go through some slumming around. Not everyone, but most people have to go through it to break through, and it's kind of
Mm.
a part of the journey. And you, like you said, you're building mental calluses. You're building like some strength, because if you're always like living like a luxury, and then you're gonna be soft on the court. I feel like you're building character in
Mm.
that sense as well.
Yeah, it's true. And all of, like I said before, like all of this stuff that I was, putting myself through, like kind of just sleeping on the floors and, doing the work, and then going and playing tournaments, like it actually brought me to kind of like what I'm doing now with the YouTube. And um, it was actually really funny the way that came about. So I was obviously watching a lot of tennis on YouTube, I was like watching yourself and like Felix Mishka, Carousel, and like I just thought that you might need like loads and loads of equipment to do it, and like big expenses, and hiring editors and this sort of thing. And I actually met Felix Mishka by chance, while I was playing these tournaments, and I was like grinding, and we just had a coffee, and I was asking about his content, and he was saying to me like, "Oh, you should document what you're doing." And I said, "Oh, I only have a iPhone 13 or whatever. Like, do you think that'll be all right?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, just do it." So I remember making my first few YouTube videos, like literally on this floor that I was sleeping on in like at night, and I was making like one per day. And then because I didn't have enough storage, I was like deleting them all like as I was making them. So it was like a crazy, crazy time. But if I hadn't kind of stuck through, I wouldn't have been in this situation now with all this opportunity that I have. Not just to play more tennis, but also to make more content, and like kind of meet the people like yourself, like great connections, getting all these opportunities. So yeah, I definitely think the grind is worth it. 100%.
Yeah, and you seem natural in the way you're doing it, and it's like it's the most tried thing ever. But the general advice is just like start doing it. Like see if it
Mm,
works for you, and usually you
mm.
get better after every video,
Did you ever
or like a
like
little bit.
did you ever struggle like putting yourself out there, or like in the beginning, or were you just like
Yeah, yeah,
kind of
completely. I mean, for me, it was. I mean, I started pretty early, so I was like, okay, nobody's watching this, so I don't give a shit, kind of. But I'm more struggled, I think, when there's no one watching. I don't care, so much, because like, or just
Mm,
few. But then the more audience you have, the more you're thinking about like, okay, I can put out this out, or this video was not so good. And I'm
mm.
still pretty hacky when it comes to some of my videos, but I get through
He-
it, and I try to keep it pretty simple. You don't need like the fanciest cameras. You don't need the fanciest.
mm,
It's all about the information and the authenticity.
mm. That's what I like about your videos. It's a lot of substance. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's like very interesting, and I think that's what people are there for. Like they're there for the tennis, the rackets, like um I don't necessarily feel like they're always there for like the editing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the
No.
ultra kind of like, what's going on with that. Was there a moment where you like saw your channel like take off and you were like, oh shit, this is like got like
Yeah,
really
there was some.
serious, or was it just gradual?
It was kind of I think everything's been pretty gradual because it's kind of a niche thing, when you do.
Mm,
Because I always feel like, okay, and maybe I trapped myself a little bit in the rackets. Obviously, if you're, I'm not traveling around playing or whatever, but it's like still, you can talk about news, you can talk about this, you can do all the things. But this is
mm,
what my passion has been and what I feel like I know pretty well and I've done for so long. But it comes and goes a little bit. You feel like sometimes you're like really, oh, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna do this video and I'm gonna do this video. So usually, if you go on a trip, you feel a bit more excited. I'm going to New York next
mm,
week for the Open. That's gonna be fun. Hopefully, can do some cool videos. But sometimes when you're at home and you've been grinding video, you know how it is. Some weeks you're not like super excited to edit. I edit myself as well. Like it's like you're
mm,
not super excited to sit and like, okay, what this racket, if it's a review, if it's a racket you're not particularly fond of course. But to get back to your question, it's kind of gradual. I think there was a point when I maybe reached a certain number of subscribers. I'm like, oh, this thing, because I was just doing it as a side gig, the side of work. This is
mm,
becoming a thing now, like where
mm.
it's a little bit different than I thought it would be. And the same with the website. The website, we have like 150, 60,000 a month visitors,
Wow.
and I never saw that like really coming. It started as like a personal blog, So it's like but you have to keep putting in the work. And I'm a grinder. I like working hard. I like
Mm,
playing tennis every day if I can. I like just I'm not a good rester. I like I like grinding and working. So I think it's kind of like if you keep that mentality, usually things will happen at some point.
mm. No, I'm a big believer in that as well. I think at the beginning with my channel, I wasn't expecting, things to kind of be as quick as they were maybe now, and it's you just got to kind of almost stick with it. But I think a lot of it is like you said, like like you've got to be busy, and you've got to, it's that kind of drive that you have. And I think, if you're, especially with the YouTube game, it's like tennis as well, but if you're in the YouTube game expecting like results to happen fast, it's such a long game. You got to be so consistent and be willing to do it week in, week out. So it's very, very kind of similar to tennis in a way, like the skills, like from what I've seen, it's a lot about consistency, like day in, day out grind, like just be willing to show up. And like it was interesting you said about when you said about your videos, you're very kind of like they have to be right. And it's funny because sometimes I've put a video out there and I'm like, oh God, that's crap. And then people love it. And then I put another video on and it's like, I'm like, wow, that's absolute gold. Like I'm going to go viral. And then it's like no views. I'm like, oh shit. I
It's
put in
it's
like
uh,
loads of, it's like so tough to gauge.
I find it
But it
almost
evens out.
impossible. Yeah. Kind
Mm,
of, because I really relate to that. Like it's usually when you're feeling like, oh, this seems like a good topic, or this came out like better than I expected, or you're just like, yeah, it should be good, and like
mm.
completely dud, lukewarm, people don't really care, and then you
Yeah.
put something together pretty quickly, maybe a little bit like, just like gut feeling, like okay, here's something, it might work, it
Mm,
might be complete shit. If nobody watches it, it's fine, and
yeah.
then it's actually doing pretty well. So it's like really, it's tough to gauge any analytics or any understanding algorithms. I feel like it's almost pointless to try because it's like
Yeah.
it's I don't think you can figure it out. It's a computer, man. So it's like
No, no. I mean, like in the beginning, I was really into all of that. I was really into kind of like, what the retention was and all this sort of stuff. And I was just like, you know what, like if I'm kind of manufacturing it, it's not going to be natural at all. And so I just started like making the videos. And if I'm having a good time and I'm like having good matches and things, or I'm hitting the ball well with a certain racket, then it'll do the job.
yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting. It's kind of, yeah,
How have
it's
you
not an
found
exact science.
like testing rackets and stuff? I mean, I know you're a pro staff guy. I think you've been for a long time, right? But it's been on and off, um,
Yeah.
which I respect
Float.
as a Roger fan, of course.
flirted with the head extreme a little bit
It's a
for a
great
while.
one-handed backhand racket, especially the head extreme. I think I guess it
Mm,
was the pro you meant there,
mm.
but like so when you're testing rackets, are you worried that you will lose, or like you're trying to keep it pretty controlled so you're not feeling like, I mean, if you're playing a tournament like next week or whatever, it's because getting into the racket rabbit hole can ruin
Mm.
everyone's game, or make you feel a bit off, but if you do like one session, it's I guess it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few times where I was testing rackets out for like a week. So I would genuinely just be like, I really want to kind of figure this racket out and just see what it's got and play a set with it or something. And that was really kind of like messing up my game a little bit. Yeah, I could pick up the pro staff and I was like, bloody hell, like I'd go from using like an aero to a pro staff and it'd be like, this is no, it's no point because I'm just kind of I feel amazing off the ground, but then I'm not really serving that well with it. But for that brief kind of like hour or so, you're like, wow, like this is unbelievable for me. But yeah, and then I really struggled actually going back into tournaments. But now I just try and hit with them for like maybe 1 or 2 days for that reason, because I was like getting drawn into like the Defier. I was getting drawn into like thinking about switching to that, and I was like, you know what, there's a reason why I've always gone back to the pro staff. Like just stick with that, and I know that I play well with it. I know I can trust it. But yeah, it was definitely tough. Do you find it difficult going from like, so you
Yeah,
you probably
it's
do
a
more than
complete.
me.
Oh yeah, I do it all. I like, since I get pretty much everything that comes out, it's
Mm,
like non-stop. And it
mm,
makes it tough. Like, so I'm playing points today against a guy who's actually qualified for futures and stuff, and
mm.
and like it takes me, if I go through, okay, I have to play with these three rackets, but then I force him to play with some rackets as well, otherwise
You got to
so it's
even it
not
out a
easy.
little bit.
But I notice with people, like especially people who like to play more seriously, he's like, oh, I'm going back to my age 22 now. I have to find my rhythm, because when you lose it, it's tough. And a lot of the other playtesters I talk to, people who do reviews a lot, they get into these kind of dark periods of like having no racket or feeling completely lost. But they're not playing like futures. But I think
Mm,
also, for I heard some pros, they can get into the racket jungle a little bit, like just even if it's just tweaking, like should I have 2 more grams swing weight? Should I lower my balance a bit? Should I increase my balance? Should I try this string? It's a new string. I get more shape on the
mm,
ball, but I get less pop. Like it can be really mentally draining for a
mm,
pro to go into this kind of like jungle, because gear is complicated, and like you don't have so much time, as you said. Like, try to limit the time, because as soon as you use one racket for a week, your connection to the
you've
pro
already.
stuff has weakened a little bit. So then you have to get
Mm.
back into it, and that probably might take a week. So it's complex.
No, I definitely see that. Like, especially now, everyone's swapping to like those kind of aero rackets, like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Defier and obviously the aero, and then Diadem have got one as well. And it's like everyone's looking for that edge with the spin rackets. But then I spoke to Lehechka, who uses the Pro Staff at
yeah.
Wimbledon. I actually hit with him a few times, and he hits a massive ball. Like it's so heavy, and he was saying like he tried a few rackets out, and obviously the pro staff, he stuck with the pro staff, which is you know great racket for him the way he hits the ball. And I kind of thought like I wonder if a lot of players are switching to these like defiers, and that maybe it would suit them playing with a H22 or something that's a little bit better for like flatter hitters maybe. Because I fell into that trap a little bit with the head extreme. I hit with it in practice, and I was like, wow, I'm not missing a ball with this thing. But then when I wanted to really do damage in the point, I just couldn't. I was ripping the ball so heavy with spin, but I just couldn't flatten the ball out with enough control. And then as soon as I went back to the pro staff, it was like, well, I was winning more points, by doing more damage. I was maybe making a few more errors, but I was like forcing more errors. And I was like, maybe at some point, I don't know, maybe we'll see people switching back a little bit to those sorts of rackets. I don't know. Because you can hit flatter with more control. And obviously the balls are getting slower, the courts are getting slower. People are going to have to be a little bit more aggressive. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting. I think there's definitely been a lot of people switching, like especially the tournaments I play, like it's all like arrows now and defiers, and you know there's becoming like less and less of the other rackets. Yeah, I think it's definitely like a bit mental sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's very mental. It's like partly there's a lot of hype about this type of racket, like you're saying, the spin racket, and
Mm,
it's considering that the launch is quite drastically different from that racket to the blade or to the pro staff to the radical or
mm,
these kind of control rackets. It can impossibly suit everyone. It's impossible that it suits
mm,
everyone. Like if you look at like swing styles and people's technique and stuff and how they attack the ball,
mm,
it's a viable weapon for a certain player type, but I think it's just maybe like went a little bit bananas, and you have Carlos playing like amazing with his arrow, and you're seeing so many players in the top like Aero 98s and Phils and a lot of guys, and then they
mm,
they might think, okay, this is where the game is going, the balls are crap, I need to get a bit more kick on the ball, but maybe
mm,
getting that kick on the ball is not what's gonna make you more difficult to lap. Because as you said, like if you flatten out the ball, it's not.
mm,
It's still gonna have a little bit like maybe you want it to skid and be tough that way, like a Medvedev. But it's not gonna
mm.
be like that if you're hitting with a Defier. Like it's gonna kick up again. So maybe that's gonna be weaker for you, or you might miss your spots by like a decimeter or something. So I think it's a little bit of a hype situation. Maybe if the balls become faster again, or we see a bit more of a variety of surfaces, I
Mm.
think you might see some trend going back to a more controlled racket. Like I don't think it suits everyone for sure. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's also a racket that I don't see as much these days, which I was quite surprised, is the Pure Drive. I don't really see it as much around. There's a few guys like playing with it,
Hmm.
and I'm like, that's an unbelievable racket, especially now. I thought I'd see more guys using that, but they tend to go for the Aero. And I think that obviously 'cause it's heavy power frame, it's stiff. I think that's an unbelievable racket for the conditions now with the balls, with the courts. Like that actually does allow you to really like hit through. It's not obviously going to give you a lot of control, but it gives you a lot of power. You can just touch it and it flies. Um, but I remember that being a lot more popular like 10, 15 years ago. I always saw the pure drive around. I see a lot of E zones, guys playing with E zones, but I don't really see as many guys rocking the pure drive, which is quite interesting. So I thought that's one people would go for just because it gives you so much pop.
Yeah, I thought the same. I thought like if you're looking for power, like my friend Daniel is playing like some Bundesliga, but he's a good player, and he's been like consistently moving up head size through the years, going from like a kind of a Prince Phantom or like the Pro Staff
Mm,
90 early days, and then
beautiful bat.
yeah, it's still fun to play with today, like it's
Mm,
just like the K factor, like the Pro Staff is just it's a rock, and then you think of Roger, you're like, you get inspired. So that's something to be said about that. But like going up, he also played Pro Staff 97, then went to Arrow VS, so many pros using that, and now ended up Pure Drive 100 even, because like it's so much easier to, like you said, you touch the ball, you have a guy who's
mm,
ripping from the back on the clay court, and you need sometimes just that help of like, okay, I don't have to go full swing on this shot, I will still get depth, so I can hang in the rallies, and if I need to
mm,
finish a point, it's gonna be a more lethal shot. It depends a little bit on your height and so on. Like if you're 2 meters, then you probably have the long levers and you can generate more. Like Taylor Fritz plays with a 95 for a reason. He can generate
mm.
crazy power with whatever. But if you need a bit of pop, like I think the Pure Drive has like pretty good flat control, which is good. While the Air always does this. So with the Air
Yeah,
you
I'd
always
say
have
it's
to adjust.
I'd say it's better for the flatter hitter
Yeah.
potentially. I always felt like that. And serving, it's a better racket for me than the aero. Like, as in, I can't seem to kind of get my serve right with the aero. Like, I've tried a lot, and the wide serve is great, the kick serve's great. I just can't hit like a flat serve with good control. I always end up like kicking it or like sliding it. But with the pure drive, I could actually like really hit my spots with it. It felt like a little bit more controlled for my serve, or it's a little bit more like direct. But yeah, I get what you say. The aero kind of always does that shape. It's like it's crazy when you're hitting from the back. It just never drop. It never goes long.
Yeah,
Just like
I think
ripping
that
it, and
is
it just never goes long.
I think that is one reason. Like when you're testing the racket, I think when people start testing the arrow, that addictive feeling that you're just pushing the guy back and you're ripping and the ball just keeps dipping in before the line
Mm,
is so addictive that it's like. But then when you look at the rest of the game, let's say you want to chop and come into the net, like the volley is
mm,
not fantastic. It's amazing on drop shots, amazing on drop shots.
mm,
Flat serves not the best. Kick serves amazing. So
mm.
it's like a lot of like kick serve, run around the forehand and whack. Because I see a lot of double-handed backhands with the pure arrow that is not. It's not like the best backhand racket. Like let's say, I think if you would put like a basic terms, you
Mm,
feel like you could have a more clean backhand with the blade, for example, or a
for
pure drive,
sure.
like you said. But the arrow on a ripping forehand is that feeling. I think it gets people addicted, and then it's kind of tough to stop, even if you're hitting somewhat unforced. Like I think people, if they look at the stats, they would be like, "Man, man, 13 unforced. What is that's why I lost the match?" But it felt great because you ripped like 12 winners or whatever.
Mm.
So I think this is
It's that
part of it.
it's that flatter contact on the backhand. It's just like harder. That's why I found it tougher on my backhand a little bit because it's like when I would just want to like nudge one down the line, like that flat kind of control that I get from the pro staff. I just wasn't getting it as much. It kind of like flies a little bit. Just mean I can't like trust it as much. But yeah, like you say, for like ripping the ball, like shredding it, it's like the best. It's the best.
Yeah, it,
Um,
it is
I mean, people
absolutely fun.
people always say to me, "Oh, it's so stiff," but I'm like, "Yeah, but you're never going to get anything like that shreds the ball like that and it be soft." So many guys I know they've got like issues with their arm or they have to like take it easy, and I'm like, well, when you're spanking forehands like that, ripping it with that crazy spin, like it's not going to be great for your arm. But it's interesting. A lot of guys seem to have like a bit of a I don't know, like a bit of a misconception about the pro staff. Like a lot of people that I speak to, they always think, oh, like it's so hard to play with, and like it's a really unforgiving racket. But I actually think the 97 is obviously it's easy to use, but it's easier than people think. And like with you can obviously control the ball with it, but actually generating power because it's heavy, you get weight behind the ball. So it's like a different type of power. Like it doesn't fly off the string as much, but the ball's like heavy. Um, so a few guys that I know actually try the like try mine, and they're like actually really surprised, like how nice it is to play with. Like especially on the backhand, and the serve, like the serve and volleys. It's just like so good. But I feel like it gets a little bit like kind of the wrong idea sometimes from players.
I agree with you. I think it's in many ways it's like it has more stiffness than the blade, so you're getting a bit more pop on your shots, and you hear it on the sound of the ball. Like when you're hitting with
Mm,
the pro stuff, the sound is amazing, right? The blade sound is, it's not wow, but the pro stuff has this sound, like this raw graphite sound that is kind of like really appealing, and
mm,
it's people get so crazy about these head sizes. And if you look at like 97, and they're never exact, so this could be like a pro staff could be 97.6 or
mm.
97.4, and a blade 98 could be 97.9 or 97.8, whatever.
Yeah,
So it's like if you put them next to each other, you will see like, okay, how much of a sweet spot difference. It's obviously how you engineer the racket with the layup and stuff, but it's not a huge sweet spot difference. So I think like a lot
no,
of club players, because they love Roger, they play with the pro staff and they play pretty well for their levels with the pro staff. So I feel like it has a little bit, like I agree with you that the reputation of the pro staff, probably since when Roger quit, people were like, okay, now we move on, to other rackets or whatever. But
RF1.
I think that's like a tougher racket. Like the RF1 is much more difficult to play than the pro staff. That's
It's
the sweet spot is nowhere there.
for sure. It's like it's a bit unpredictable. If you hit like slightly off the sweet spot, it feels like it kind of just like you have to be so on it with that racket, I think.
Yeah.
And it feels like a lot more powerful as well. Like it is harder to control. But you'll know a lot more about it than me. Isn't that because the string pattern on it? It's got that kind of like really dense kind of string pattern in the middle, and then it kind of gets like wider as it goes across. So if you hit it like slightly off the middle, it just, it makes it more unpredictable. Is that the reason? Is that
That's a good analysis. Yeah. I mean, the shape of the head, I guess they engineered obviously everything in this one go, but like the shape of the head is a bit more like, eggy or rounded or whatever
yeah?
you want to
It's
call it.
like it goes in at the top a little bit,
Yeah.
which is
And then
strange because they
like
normally
the
go out.
pattern, like you said, it's kind of funny looking. The
Mm,
pattern looks like super dense there, but that means also like it's gonna play kind of difficult on the edges of it, and you feel that, like
mm.
you feel like, oh, I thought that was a pretty good shot, and then it's like it's a dud or it's like
It
weaker
just
than you thought.
sails.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
No,
has some hot
I felt
spots.
yeah, I felt that a lot when I played with it. When I first hit with it, I was using a an RF 97, and I was like, oh wow, this is like lighter. It's like more headlight. Like it's giving me more power. I can like maneuver it around, and then I kind of like hit with it more and more and more, and then I was like, actually, like the ball's like flying on me a little bit. So I went up in tension, and it kind of still happened. And yeah, it was kind of like tough because that RF 97 was just such a reliable racket. Like it was unbelievable. Crushed the ball. Ball was so direct. And yeah, I just don't know if that lived up to the expectation that it had. But yeah, like I said, I
No,
don't know if I don't know if I've kind of like tested it enough, or maybe I've got the wrong game style for it. But yeah, I just wasn't a huge fan of it. It looked cool though. It's a cool style.
yeah,
They
it's
definitely
like
got that right.
Roger, Roger inspired, everybody's gonna buy it, and then yeah, I think it was a bit of a disappointment for a lot of people. I mean, you can read that in comments on reviews and stuff, but like I think most
Mm,
people felt like this could have been a better racket. From what I hear, they are trying to update it now, so they're hopefully making it a little bit more forgiving and maybe with a bit
okay.
more pop. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens. But now with Roger not being active, like then he was kind of like still, is he active or not when they, I guess, started working with it. But so we'll see if they improve it. But I completely agree with you. It's like that's why I felt like the pro stuff you're using, it's like an easier racket, like on paper,
Yeah.
really, if you want to be rough, like it's a better racket than the RFO1. I just feel like
I'd
it's.
I'd agree. I fully agree. I
Do
know
you
I'm
do you,
biased to it, but but I
do
would
you
agree.
add weight to yours or?
I do, yeah. So all of mine are basically matched to the heaviest racket that I got. I wanted them
Yeah.
to be as light as possible. So they had some, I know this is bad, but I don't actually know the exact spec. They're like 330 grams unstrung. I'm not 100% sure on the swing weight, but it's not crazy. There's like a little bit of lead in the top, but it's only to balance them. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, they're around three with a leather grip, about 330 unstrung. So they're not
Oh,
they're
you're a leather
nothing
grip guy.
crazy.
That's
Love a leather grip.
you,
Or since I was
yeah.
like 13, always used leather. You're a leather grip or
No, I've used it, but now no. But okay, I played with Arrow for a while, so then you can't use leather because you look stupid. No, I'm joking, but um, no, but it's you really feel the bevels. Like I'd still consider it for the right racket. Like if you're, and also with
Mm,
the pro stuff, it's just like if you get calluses or if it's like a super stiff racket and you're playing with a stiff string, it might be a lot. The vibration's gonna be a bit heavier.
mm.
But once I think if you get really used to leather, it's tough because you feel like the grip is too rounded or a bit too soft and mushy,
Can't
and that's
feel it
tough.
as much.
No.
So the funny thing is when I was younger, I used to get because I started tennis pretty late. I used to get really bad like calluses on my hands, like really bad blisters. Like my hands were like bleeding while I was playing.
Oh, like Rafa style.
Yeah, yeah, like hardcore. And my coach said to me, get a leather grip and play with a leather grip for like 2 weeks. And it was like super painful, like, just leather, no overgrip.
Hmm.
And I was playing with it for a while and my hand was like bleeding a lot. And anyway, they just got so tough in the end that like it just kind of, obviously you can, don't know if you can see it, just kind of like went super hard there, and it's all over. Hands are awful. Um, that'll drive the viewers up. Just show them my hands. Um,
Tennis player hands,
but
man.
yeah, but it really worked. Like I've never had blisters on my hands since I was like 13, from using the leather. Um, yeah, I remember it was like a really, really big problem. I'd get through matches and I'd have like blisters everywhere. Um, but I think apart from obviously feeling the ball more and you can feel the racket, you feel the bevels, it does really like toughen your hands up. Um, I mean, some of those guys, the old school players who just used to use leather, no overgrip. I mean, I'm not sure how they were doing that, but it does like toughen you up quite a lot, I think, just
Yeah, it
just
does.
using it.
And there's still
Um,
one guy on tour using it today, Marco Trungelliti. He's still
I
playing
s
full leather.
with the head boom.
Yeah, with the head boom. It looks
That's a
so
weird
weird.
mix. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
weird mix, but it works for him. I mean, is it
It-
actually, you'll know, is it a head boom? Is it actually a head boom or what is it?
it's an actual head boom. Yeah, I think it's a Boom Pro, but
Seriously?
yeah. I mean, there are
No
not many
way.
booms. We have Navone and we have Trungelliti. I think
Uh-huh.
those are the booms on the ATP. But that's still like
Okay.
they're still top 100. I don't know if Trungelliti is top 100 now, but it's like there's some booms. I heard also from Head that the booms are doing well on like junior levels, so you will see more booms. I'm not
Mm,
like a big boom fan, to be honest, but it's you're gonna see some of these power rackets maybe break through and so
mm.
on. So yeah, but I'm
I mean,
curious to see what happens.
it's not a terrible shout for the one-hander.
No,
Not
no,
awful.
the Boom Pro on the one hander, yeah, it's
Yeah,
quite good,
yeah,
I would say.
yeah.
Did you test any rackets before we leave the rackets like recently or like this year or last? Like that was okay. This was the most exciting racket or the most fun to use besides the arrow. Was it the arrow or no? Like
I'm gonna probably get slated for this,
uh
but I did some racket testing with All Things Tennis, and they brought
yep.
me in and they said, "Oh, we've got this like new head racket, and it's like it's like a intermediate racket." And I was like, "Oh, like okay, like, I'm not really that interested in doing like intermediate kind of, like it's not designed for like pros at all. Like it's never going to be a pro racket." The guy brings it out, and I'm like, it's like it's so light, it's like a breadstick, and I'm just like, I don't want to hit with this. And he goes, just hit with it for a few minutes. It was the head squared, and I was like, oh my days, this is the like craziest racket. Like I'm hitting the crazy amount of spin. It's so easy to use. It's like so soft, and I was just ripping the ball with it. And the guy that I was playing with was actually a good friend of mine, very good player, and I was like absolutely smoking him with it. I was just like whipping the ball around. Um, and it's funny because I always get people who are maybe they're not like that level where they can use like an aero or a V core, and they're like, oh, I'm thinking of using like the V core 95, and I'm like, no, you need a head squared. And they like look at it and they're like, no, 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 I'm not using that, and I'm like, trust me. And then they pick it up and it's like an absolute like it's an absolute wand. There was the head squared. I thought was, I think just because it surprised me. Um, I still think the aero is the best. I think all round, like it's so hard to beat. I just think that was a crazy. It's just a crazy good racket. Obviously the V cores are good. The um, head extreme super solid. But one of the best rackets, and I've also seen this from a few players that I know. So three guys that have switched to it, which I was really actually quite impressed with this racket, was the 98 Tour Ultra.
Mm.
Um, I was really surprised at that, and I would never use it just because I don't like the extended. But 98, 18, 19, like it offers you something a little bit different, gives you some power, but flatter trajectory. And I've seen a few guys use that, like Liam Brody switched to it. One of my good friends just switched. There's another guy as well that I know who's been around 600 in the world who's also looking to switch to it. But they're just very hard to get hold of. And yeah, I hit with that and I was like, wow, this is a very good racket, but it's different. It's not like your Defiers or your head extremes or your arrows. It's like a different category of racket. So I'd say they were like rackets that really, really kind of stood out for me. Of course, the pro staff as well. I mean, it's a sexy looking racket, all black with the classic. You can't get away with that. But it's not a new. It's nothing new
No,
really.
it's the cosmetic, but the cosmetic is a big upgrade. I think it looks amazing.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so good. What about yourself?
I mean, I was laughing because like the squared was my thing as well. Like from a pure fun perspective of like,
Mm.
this racket is so much fun to use. I gave it to other guys that are, higher level than me, and they're like, man, this is so fun, this racket, and
Yeah, it's so good.
I don't know, it's crazy. And I tried adding like, quite a lot of weight to the hoop, and it's still good. So, I mean, it's not going to be a tour level racket, 16, 18, pretty open spacing, but
Mm.
they did some magic there because like, if you try a lot, I try a lot of rackets every year, and it's like a few rackets that make you go. A lot of rackets these days are solid, so you're like, okay, this is a solid racket. It's not for me, but it might be for this type of player. I also like the Ultra, like you mentioned, the Ultra Tour. I don't like 27.25-inch rackets or any longer rackets generally, so it's not gonna be for me. But if you would cut it down, like you can, like if you're pro, get them cut down. Maybe
Yeah,
it could be
just get your
great.
saw out.
Yeah, yeah. Get the saw out. Like talk to your customizer, and they. I've done that with rackets before, but it's like. So those are good shouts actually. Like it's the square surprised me. In your head you're like, okay, well, this is gonna be another gimmicky clash racket or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I looked at it and I was like, you know, normally when I do these reviews with all things tennis, they give me some like, they just let me do the pro ones, like all
Yeah.
the ones pros would use. But yeah, and he was like, no, trust me, you'll love it. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, actually, this thing is an absolute weapon. I say one more racket that I actually is super hard to get hold of, but I think is like I think it's up there with some of the best. I think up there with the best rackets of the year is the 315 V Core Tour, the 98
Mm.
Tour. I hit with that and I was like, I love that. I know you can get the same effect if you build the 98 up, but I just hit with that and I thought that was like unreal. Also the 95, is really good, but that one was the one that stood out for me, I think, in the V Core range. But I think they're just super hard to get hold of. I don't know anywhere where that you can get them from, really.
No, I find interesting with Yonex that it's like you see so many switches. Like you mentioned before, like pure drives, not so
Mm,
many. Pure arrows everywhere, of course, but like pure
mm.
strikes, I don't see. Pure drives, I don't see. But then E zones, they're like everywhere, man. Like E zones.
Yeah.
I made the WTA tour video. Like I was like 21 E zone players in top
Mm,
100 on the WTA, which makes sense for WTA players sitting like quite behind you and flat through like
mm.
this. But um, but it's tough to find to buy the Yonex rackets. Like they're sold out, or
Yeah.
there's no distribution, or like in Europe, I've struggled, as well. Like okay, I haven't even hit the 95, so I don't know the Vico 95. Sure, it's a good racket, but it's like it's been tricky with the Yonex rackets, especially. I would say.
I, I think I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's something to do with their like quality control. Maybe they only make a certain amount, or because I know that they're pretty much kind of. I would say they're the best. They're the closest in quality, I would say. Yeah, yeah, they are quite difficult to get hold of. Maybe it's the quality control, not 100% sure, but even getting demos to do videos with. So like I message like the brands, I message all things tennis,
Hmm.
and sometimes I still can't, you know, may, pretty much across most of the brands actually. Babolat are really good. Babolat are amazing actually. I can get them like so quick.
Hmm.
Um, even stuff that's not even like it really in the pipeline. You can get stuff from them. But yeah, it's like tough. I haven't even got a Defier yet. It's like, and that's been out for like 2 months.
Yeah.
It is pretty tough.
No, I didn't get one Defier either. I had to buy. Like I went to so my friend runs like a pro stock shop, so he
Mhm.
got me some pro stocks to try. And then the retail ones, my friend Henrik in Sweden, he got them, so I could try them from the retail, the red ones.
Mm.
And then I bought them at the Swedish Open like for a discount, like I got a pretty good deal on them. But otherwise, they like Wilson said, like they were not gonna send to content people, influencers, racket reviewers, whatever, because
Wow.
we're gonna keep it to us. I don't know. So I still haven't received any Defiers, but I have bought, so I have tried them, and they're good sticks. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the magic bullet to solve all your tennis problems. Like there are no rackets to do that, but
No.
I'm seeing a lot of players like, oh, I have to try it. So I'm sure they're selling like a bucket load of
Oh,
them.
they're going crazy. I see them everywhere now. I
Yeah.
also think that I don't know if you feel the same, but like I felt with the Defier, I feel like the Aero is like I could pick that up and play with it with no weight, like no leather grip. I'd want a leather grip, but I could pick it up and play with just the string, just the right string. But I feel like all these other rackets like the V Core, and I think the Defier is kind of the same. Like you need to kind of like customize it a little bit. I think you need to add like a little bit of weight because I was hitting with it and it's like it's definitely softer than the Aero. I think it's like a little bit of a better feeling like version. You maybe don't get the same amount of like bite on the ball that you do with the Aero, but you definitely don't get as much like stability. So when I was hitting with it, it felt kind of like when people were hitting big into me, I kind of needed something more behind the ball, just so I could stay easy on the shot. Whereas the Aero, I never had that. Um, but obviously it feels better in my opinion. I think like the
Yeah.
connection on the string feels like a little bit nicer. I don't know how you feel about that.
You nailed it. Like I feel exactly the same. Like I feel like with the Defier, you have to work harder or you bump up the swing weight so you're getting some depth for free. Because with Aero you're getting depth for free, even stock. Like you can take Aero from they could take an Aero 98 from the shop. If you want to smack a leather grip on it, whatever. But just go out and play. Like
That would be me.
it's a racket that just gives you that addictive sense of like power and spin. It's like addictive, that racket
Mm,
to play with. The Defier is a racket you need to work with a little bit. It's not like it has a very pleasant. It's very pleasant on impact. You feel like, but then to find the string is to kind of work with that because sometimes if it's like too pleasant, like it's where is the ball on the string bed? Like where did I hit it on the string bed? Because it's like a little bit muted. So yeah,
mm.
it's a racket you need to work with. I feel like with while the Arrow can just pick up and play and whatever tweak it to your specs, but a little bit tricky. When you chose a string for you play Lynx Tour still, or are you playing something else
Hmm.
now?
Links
Yeah,
tour, yeah.
it's a great string. Yeah. You what do you what do
Unbelievable.
you use? Like, is it the Champagne 125 or?
Champagne 130.
Oh yeah, yeah, you go. Yeah, yeah. Well, I have friends that use that as well. That's popular among pros, huh? Like it's very
Yeah.
popular.
I always see it in the Wimbledon stringing room when I do the hitting,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, respect. It's such a good string because, especially for players, like I would say at futures tour players or players, it's a very good quality string. Like obviously like it just holds tension so well and it never breaks, and it's like a spin string, which is kind of like a weird combo. Like normally they snap relatively quite quick. I was using before I would use kind of RPM blasts like Pro Hurricane, that sort of thing, and they'd maybe last me like maybe 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then I switched to Link's Tour, it was lasting me like 6 hours, like 5 to 6 hours. And I was like, whoa, this is like, and being a Futures Tour player, if you have to hand in like 2 or 3 rackets a day, it's such a big expense. It just saves you so much more money. And I think that you don't get like normally there's a bit of a trade-off, but I think the quality of the string is very, very good. Like the tension holds really well, and the it's not super super stiff. I don't think. Like I've
No,
definitely
it's
had stiffer
it's
strings.
yeah, it's not the stiffest string on. I also a big fan of Link's Tour, always been since it came out because it's just like you said, it holds tension so well. Like you can it can stay in your racket. It's not gonna get super mushy. Some
Mm,
strings like you play like you said 2 3 hours, even if it doesn't break, it gets this like very soft and now you have nothing on the ball. Like the ball doesn't have that kick bites to it, so it's like.
mm.
So I buy that. Also the sound, like I can hear when you're playing within the pro stuff, the sound is great. With Link's Tour, you have that talk, it like has that.
Mm. It's
So
so
it's
like it sounds like heavy. It's like kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
like very crisp, very heavy. I have a lot of guys actually that I know that use like Alu Power, like full bed, or they even use it with Element, and they have that problem where 45 minutes in, the string's just gone. Even if it's not broken, it's like it's so loose, and
Yeah.
You have to switch it out. It's especially now, like the balls, they're so slow. It's you need it for a bit of pop, but then sometimes it's like it loosens up so much, it's like too much, and the ball
Yeah.
just like flies. But
No, and there's nothing worse.
um,
Like if you're in the middle of a match and you're like, okay,
mm,
the strings have dropped so much, and maybe you don't have like on the futures, maybe you're not stringing like 6 to 8 rackets for a match, right? So it's like
mm.
you're getting a bit iffy with your confidence about like, okay, man, this is the racket I have left, and now it's down to 20 kilos. So let's see where this goes.
But
It's not the best
there's
feeling.
not there's nothing better though than like the alu with gut for like 20 or 30 minutes. I actually tried it a few months ago. I had 4G and 4G and gut and alu power with gut, and I actually preferred the 4G. But it is just like incredible. I see why so many of the top guys use that sort of setup, because it's just unbelievable. It feels amazing. Like the ball has this kind of like weird trajectory. It kind of almost like knuckleballs a little bit. It's like even if you don't hit spin, the ball kind of like just naturally dips.
Mm.
But yeah, for a futures tour player, it's just not practical.
No,
Stringing
it's
like six to eight rackets or whatever it is, just
yeah, and,
it's
and
never
also
going to
like
happen.
with the stringing quality sometimes on futures tournaments, like and lower,
Mm,
like you don't know, like many stringers are great stringers, but sometimes you don't know like how good will he be. And I talked to Petros, my friend, he's playing as well, like a lot of futures, and he's in challengers, and he's like, oh, you stringing gut is always iffy because if the stringer is not good, like the gut might be screwed up already from the machine, or and like if you
mm,
leave gut in a hot car, it might break. There's a lot of things with gut that makes unless you have a really controlled setting, or you're like, okay, I'm ATP top 50, I have 10 rackets, whatever. But otherwise, it's a tricky product. Although it's fantastic when you play with it, like it is. If it's like 4G and gut, I agree, is dream
mm.
combo. It's a dream combo, full control. You can play like flat. It can, yeah, like Deminar, for example, using that in that ultra, like just smacking the ball flat all the time. It's good.
Yeah, it's a dream because you can play at higher tension as well,
Yeah.
and it's like nicer. You get more pop. But I've heard stories about that when I've been on the road and I've been in Europe somewhere and like Portugal and which I love to play tournaments there. Actually, it's one of the best places. But a few of my friends have been traveling around and they've handed in their racket and it's gut and alu and it just comes back like you say it's been left in like the office that's got a window which is directly in the sun, and it's like it's just fried it before it's even you
Being
know
used.
made it made it to the court. And so yeah, it just makes it so much more complicated in the futures. But yeah, like I say, if you go to Wimby, they're all using that sort of setup, or a lot
Yeah.
of players are.
Talking
um
about Wimby, I wanted to get into that. Like, yeah, you were a hitting partner this year. Were you also last year? Yeah, right.
I've done it for about 4 years, I think, in
4 years.
total.
Okay.
Mm,
How is that? Like,
yeah.
what is the feeling? I mean, Wimbledon's like an amazing tournament. No, everybody knows that. And just walking around the
Mm.
grounds there, like having the access is amazing. So how does that feel for you? And to be able to hit like with some great players, of course.
I mean, yeah, it's just like one of the biggest opportunities that you can get in tennis, I think, to just strike some of those top guys. But you really do get a sense of like how good they are. So they are like incredible, like the ball striking, the movement, the movement's massive. Um, Also like the depth, the tempo that they're able to hit at like consistently is crazy. Like when you're rallying up and down the middle, it's actually quite nice because you can use their pace and the ball is in the same spot most of the time. But then as soon as you start to do like movement, once the ball gets behind you slightly, you just can't recover it. Um, and then like playing points with them, you realize like how quickly, why they're at that level. That it's just like you serve, they've seen, 10 times bigger serves than that. You return at them, you don't return with enough depth. They just put the ball away. Um, so yeah, the level's pretty crazy. And then, obviously you hit with a lot of the top players, and then you hit with like Djokovic, and that is just insane. Like his ball and his timing and his movement is just something like I've never seen before, you know. Um, like how easy it is, how loose he is. It's just never out the middle of the string, and it's just so accurate. Like it's within 3 feet of the baseline, like every time, and it's actually very hard to control as well. Actually, his ball because it like knuckleballs, it like shoots through.
Yeah,
Um,
I can imagine
but
that.
yeah, it was very interesting, like being around and just seeing all their routines, like how long they spend in the gym, like warming up. It's like 45 minutes to an hour every day. But yeah, it was cool. It was a
Did
really cool
you I
experience.
mean, tennis is a game where there's a lot of egos, and you see that on futures, you see that on challengers, you see that on ATP,
Mm.
WTA. Are they all like pretty nice to deal with, or do you find like some huge egos? You don't have to call out any names if you don't want, but I mean, like that's what I've seen when I've traveled around, like tour with doing some
Mm.
racket work or stuff,
I think it kind of depends. Like if you're doing a good job and you're hitting well, I don't think they really like, you know, generally like everyone that I hit with was really nice. I mean, there was a few times where like, there's a bit of banter and that sort of thing and but there's like yeah, I'd say generally on the whole they were all like super nice. Like I mean, it was weird hitting, like, bring up Novak again. Like, when I was hitting with him, I actually hit with him with a friend. So we were kind of 2v1.
hmm
And, like, there were times when, like, I'd missed, like, two balls in a row. And there was this kind of, like, stare almost, like, lock in. You know what I mean? And then my friend had missed, like, two balls in a row and it'd be like, lock in. But it was weird. Like we didn't feel like bad or we didn't feel like intimidated. It was more like we want to just do a good job
Yeah.
because we like respect him. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like it was anything like nasty, if that makes sense. It was more like this is my practice. I only have like an hour. Like we have to do this right. It was more like that. Because yeah, he understands. Like he knows it's about focus and that. So
He does
yeah, it was,
quite well. Like
he knows it pretty well.
he's a crazy guy with all that stuff. I think, I mean, like from knowing his brother a little bit and like his team,
Mm.
is his level of professionalism is like it's hard to beat. I don't think you can beat like Novak's professionalism. It's just like that's
He
one
just
reason he's the GOAT, like especially results wise and everything, all the achievements he's had. It's insane. Yeah, the level of like what I'm eating, what I'm doing, how I'm meditating, how I want my practice to be. It's like I've been to some of his practices. I'm like, wow, this guy, like this next level stuff here.
he just operates on another level. His
Yeah.
like focus is insane. Like I was watching some practices with him and the whole time that I was there for like 25 minutes he wouldn't miss a ball. It was ridiculous. Just like cleaning the ball like, so smooth, so easy and yeah, like obviously the other players that I saw they were obviously like crazy good. Um but I just didn't feel like they were on that sort of level of like focus that he had or maybe not yet, you know. Like obviously like Sinner and Alcaraz were also crazy to watch. Like they're just,
Yeah.
like watching Alcaraz is so exciting. He can do anything with the ball. Sinner just like the raw power, the movement, Um, but yeah, I think it's obviously because he's so experienced and he's been through like so much. Like Novak, he's very very interesting to watch. He's like almost like mastered it, like he's just mastered the game. So yeah, it's very interesting.
And for you as an aspiring player as well, like it must be amazing to be around them and to learn. I mean, as you said, like you're seeing practice routines, you're seeing things they're doing on court, things their coaches might be telling them, or like moments when they have to, pause and like, okay, what am I doing with my wrist here, or what is this, like so it must be a really good learning period for you. But what you said in the beginning, and I want to get back to that, like you said when before we pressed record was like, okay, after Wimbledon, you need to get back to being a player again because like that's even if you're hitting with the best, obviously you're doing them a service. So you want to make sure they have a perfect ball, get everything back, few mistakes, and that's it. But then when you play a match, it's a completely different challenge. Like this, you have to beat this guy now. Like that's how is that transition for you? Like taking all that like the cool thing of being in at Wimbledon, like a live experience that very few get to live, and then to go, okay, back to the grind. I have to start playing tournaments. I have to get back to it.
Super tough actually, because you get used to being like the nice guy,
Yeah.
and you're like, feeding them balls, and like you're like at the court, at the back of the court, like sometimes just picking up balls for the coach. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do that as the job, but like if you're on court, like you may as well just help them out. So
I've done
you
I've
get,
like when I'm racket consulting whatever if it's like a ATP guy. I mean like I'm picking up balls. I'm like doing all that stuff, because I don't
yeah,
like
yeah,
standing there, and looking stupid.
yeah,
So that's what
yeah.
you
It's
do,
just like just the thing to do. Like you just help the team, or whatever. And I think yeah, coming back as well, there was a certain like intensity because the hitting is obviously quite intense, but you're not like flat out for like 5 hours a day. You're not like moving your feet like crazy, you just can't because there was sometimes we were doing up to 5 hours a day at one point, and it's pretty physically like quite hard. So like coming back, the intensity of my footwork wasn't there, like my body work wasn't there, like my timing of the ball was, and I had to become like really match sharp again, like just getting used to pressure situations, like what to do on break points, because I came back to play one match and like the first two matches that I played, I genuinely was like, what do I do here? Like, do I chip the return? Do I hit it? Whereas before it was like I was so clear. I was like, yeah, I accept that if I hit this, I miss it. Like it's fine. Like I just keep going after it. Whereas it was like when I came back, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to start winning now. And I was like just putting the ball in and running, and it was like it was actually very, very hard to come back after that. Like it was because I didn't just do Wimbledon, I did Queens and Wimbledon. So I did the 2 weeks
okay.
of Queens and 3 weeks of Wimbledon. So it was nearly kind of 6 weeks out, really. Um, yeah, so it's like when you have to, and that's not training for myself whatsoever. So I was like, had to come back, and I was like, you know, just getting the intensity up and letting the ball go and then just like scrapping through a load of matches, playing terrible tennis.
Yeah, how do you deal with that these days? Like if you're trying to get back to your level and you have to go through some losses or some like disappointing sessions, let's say. Like
Mm,
do you feel like your mental game is pretty on point, or is it something you're working on? Like because I think a lot of people in tennis, it's all, technique, fitness,
mm,
super important, of course. Playing a lot of matches, everybody knows how important that is. In tennis, you need match practice. Like there's playing a match and hitting, it's just completely different things. But
mm,
then the mental part is in the spotlight sometimes, but I feel like a lot of players are not really working actively on mental stuff.
mm. Yeah, I mean, I do like a lot of breathing, and I try and like calm myself down. I feel like I always try. Like I feel like I always work pretty hard. Like I'm always in training, I'm always like moving my feet. I always like to try and train for a long time if I can. If I'm not like working or something like that, I always try and like do a lot, hit a lot of serves, and I do a lot of fitness in the gym as well. But yeah, it's really tough. I feel like there's a part in the mental side where you have to be like so committed to the process. That's the part that I struggle with, like the way that I'm playing. Like if I get into a match and I'm like missing a few balls and I'm playing for money and points, like in the past I've had a tendency to kind of like tighten up and not go for things, and it takes a lot of mental effort to put everything in perspective and just kind of get myself into a situation, a mindset where I can just play a little bit more freely without worry. Um, 'Cause that's the thing, like I won't necessarily be like worried about losing. I don't think that's like an issue. I think it's more like missing out on like opportunities, like if it's a good chance to earn money or if it's a good chance to get points. I think I'm more kind of worried about that.
It's the process. Like you feeling like you're getting like a bit lost in the process, or you feeling like you're getting kind of tight, in those because of the stakes, because you're feeling like, okay, there's money on the line. I would need some money
Hmm.
here, you know.
Yeah, it's like it's more like the money and more like the opportunity because there's been times where let's say when I've had like more, I talk about money a lot on my channel. I'm not that money obsessed. It's just like I want to be kind of like free to play and have
Yeah, yeah,
opportunity
of
to
course.
play.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but there's been times where like I've had more money in my bank account. Like I've had like, enough to play like 3 to 4 months, and I've like written everything down. I've like written a schedule, and I've written like my game plan down. This is what I'm going to stick to week in, week out, and I'm just going to make minor adjustments. And I can, I make this my process, and I just stick to it. And regardless of like the score line or the situation, who I'm playing, I can make small adjustments, like tactically, maybe hit to one spot a little bit more. But it's like, on break points, I'm stepping up and I'm taking the backhand return on early cross court. Like I'm just going to do that, and if I miss it, it's fine. Accept it, do it again, do it again. And when I've had these periods where I've not played for a little while, I'm coming back, I need like matches. That's when I really struggle to like stick to things and commit to things, just because I've been out of the routine of doing it, and there's also like stakes on the line as well. But like, yeah, when I'm like training and I'm like doing these things day in, day out, I'm in the right mental space. Like it's a lot easier um to like stick to it.
Yeah, when
But
you're in the
yeah,
kind of system, yeah, a system of tournaments and in your
yeah,
schedule, yeah, I get it, the
mm,
routine.
it's actually quite funny as well. The channel added like a weird dynamic to it. So like sometimes the channel early on was like a lot of pressure, because I was like, if I lose, like I'm gonna look like bad, and I'm gonna, people aren't gonna follow my journey, and then I'm gonna like lose all my like YouTube stuff, like sponsorships. And I got to the point where I was like almost like so tired. Like I played so many tournaments, like trained a lot, worked a lot, was editing every night, and I got like so tired that I almost like not didn't care, but like the worry kind of just like left. I was like, I don't have energy to worry about it. I'm just gonna do it. Um, and I actually started to play like a lot better. And then the channel almost became like it like really supported it. So I was like, oh, win or lose, I can just make like a story out of it, and maybe I can show people what I'm doing wrong. Maybe I can use it as like a kind of like a coaching tool, but it's like entertainment as well. So it kind of like I was like, all these opportunities I thought I was like missing out on, maybe I can actually like use them to make something of. If they're not showing me winning, then maybe they can show people, you know, maybe how to get better, or they can be a bit entertaining, or it's never like a lost week, if that makes sense.
No,
Um,
I think there's a lot to be said for like sharing, sharing your
mm,
troubles, sharing your wins, letting
mm,
people join you. And if they're not fans, they're not fans, whatever. But I mean, we're always gonna get some people that like are haters or trolls or whatever. But I think you win more fans by being open and honest and sharing. Like I think that's generally being yourself is all we can do. And then, the people who like it, they like it. The people who don't like it, they don't like it. So that's like in everything. So I think keep doing that. I think that's great. I think you're doing great work on YouTube. And you're doing great work on the court as well. So just keep hammering. You have a tournament from tomorrow, so and the club is closing, so I'm gonna let you leave,
mm. Sorry
and we can
about
maybe.
that.
No, I understand, man. We've been talking for a while, so but
It's
best of
been
luck
great.
in the upcoming matches, and everyone follow Sean Plays Tennis. Great channel, fun to follow your journey, and we keep in touch.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me on again. Really appreciate it. And best of luck to you too, as well. Thank you.
Thanks, man.